Hello, I'm Mr. Fulton, and this video is for Earth Science. This is my course description, expectations, and syllabus. And so we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about those things here. So as you can see on the screen, this is a copy of my syllabus for this year, Earth Science 2020-2021. Right there it says GC code. That means Google Classroom code. That's just a spot that you can write down your Google Classroom code. Each one of my periods is going to have a different Google Classroom code. So if you have a friend that's in my class in a different period, don't copy their code. Okay, just ask me. Make sure you have the right code to the right period. All right, that's going to be very important. Okay, and in this course, Earth Science, we're going to be investigating 5 specializations in Earth Science, and those include meteorology, oceanography, geography, astronomy, and environmental science. All right, and this is going to help you to develop some analytical skills and problem-solving techniques that you'll be able to use in other classes, not just in this class, but throughout your high school and career in life. And this will also help you to see what's available to you in terms of career paths and educational pathways that you can follow in school, just to see what you're interested in. You'll notice that even more when you get to college. You'll think that you want to grow up to be whatever, and you'll start taking classes, and before you know it, you'll be aware of so many more things that you could be interested in, right? And so it's funny the way as your education evolves, your interests in life will also change and grow and expand and stuff. Anyway, so this syllabus is a written acknowledgement of what you are expected and required to do, and some of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to be including videos like this video about different topics we're going to discuss, and those are going to be available to you, especially right now where there's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of social distancing and requirements and what the state is going to mandate. And so I'd like to put as much material as I can online, just in case for whatever reason you're not here. You'll be able to access those materials online on my Google Classroom, but not only my Google Classroom, but also on my channel. I'll try to, a few times a week, put videos online to make sure that you're able to access some of these discussions online. Okay? All right, so my YouTube channel is called Fulton Science, and there's a lot of videos on there about different scientific topics. And for Earth Science, I'll be adding videos as the semester progresses. Okay, some of the things I also want to talk about are some of our class values. So this school embraces the RAISE values, and we will be exercising these in my class, of course. So the RAISE values is an acronym, R-A-I-S-E. The R stands for respect, the A stands for accountability, I is integrity, S is service, and E is excellence. And as you can see here, you're going to be exercising those. I like excellence. That makes sense to me. Take pride in anything that has your name on it. All right. Class overview. Homework is expected to be turned in on time. This is very important. Late work will not be accepted. And what I mean by that is, yes, there's a window where late work is accepted, but after that window, it's not going to be worth turning in because it's not going to be worth any points. You'll notice here that says each day late will result in a 20% deduction. Okay. So after 5 days, theoretically you could turn your homework in, but it's not worth any points is the point. So I want to make sure that that's clear. Each day late is going to be a 20% deduction. So what I'm saying is if something's due and you're 80% done with it, you might as well turn it in for an 80% the day it's due instead of turning it in the next day completely finished for 80%. But you might benefit more if you were to complete it. So that's just something to consider when you're looking at work that's not finished yet. If you're only half done with something, day it's due, you're like, you forgot about it or whatever. Yes, you'll want to finish it, turn it in the next day for 80% instead of taking the 50. That's the general idea. All right. You're expected to be on all the online accounts that you're required to have. Okay. Google Classroom is absolutely required. There's no exceptions. You need access to Google Classroom in order to access materials that I'll be posting. If you don't have access to Google Classroom, you won't be able to pass this course. So make sure you have access to Google Classroom. All right, everybody's going to be in the Google Classroom. I'll be posting assignments on Google Classroom, and that'll give you the ability to turn things in. If you're not here, you're sick, Google Classroom. You can go in there, complete your work, turn it in. That'll allow you to make up, turn in assignments. And so I'm not going to have excuses for things like, oh, I lost this or that. I'm going to post every single assignment in PDF form or some other electronic form on my Google Classroom. Okay, so if you lose your homework, there should be a digital copy on the Google Classroom. And I'm hoping this is to help you. I'm not trying to punish you. No more dog ate my homework excuses, right? Okay, you should be able to access everything you need on my Google Classroom. If there's any issues accessing Google Classroom, I'm happy to help you. But please don't wait until halfway through the school year to say, oh, by the way, I don't have access to Google Classroom. All right, the school will work with you. I'll do whatever I can to help you. If it's something as simple as not knowing your Google Classroom code, please don't be nervous. Just say, I don't remember the code. I know you told it to me 3 times, and every time I wrote it down, I somehow lost that piece of paper. Whatever your excuse is, just come to me. Email me, whatever you need to do, get in the Google Classroom, or just simply ask somebody in your same class period. Please, if you ask somebody else the Google Classroom code, make sure they're in the same period as you and in my class. There's other earth science teachers on campus. We each have our own Google Classrooms. Don't join theirs. That's just going to cause a lot of confusion, unless you're in their class. Attendance will be required in order to complete bell work. So you have to be here to complete bell work. There's some exceptions for this. If you've registered as an online student, obviously that's a different situation. Okay. But I believe they infer your attendance based on your, logging in and turning in your work. I'm not exactly sure on all that. You'd have to ask administration. But the basic idea is if you're a in-person student, you need to be in attendance in order to complete your bell work. And I'll try to give bell work every day. Some days there'll be exceptions, but most days I'll try to have something small that's pass or fail, where you just show evidence of completion. You'll have it on your desk, you'll have your notebooks out, and you'll be working on it. And if I see you working on what looks like bell work, I give you full score, 5 points out of 5 points. If you're messing around, doing something else, talking, and don't have anything in front of you that appears to be completed bell work, I reserve the right to give you a 0, to encourage you to diligently get out your stuff and get working as soon as you come in the classroom. Once that bell rings, I don't want talking, I want focusing and working, okay? Between classes, be as social as you want to. During class, obey the rules, okay? So that I can use my time to teach. Notebooks, did I mention notebooks? We'll talk about that in just a minute. So as I said, everything's going to be available online. You're going to need access to Google Classroom. You're going to need access to PowerPoints that I will also post on Google Classroom if you want to review those. In person, I'll try to review those, and for those that aren't here, I'll make simple videos of explanations of the content in the PowerPoints, just in case you would rather benefit from that verbal instruction. Don't wait until the last day in the quarter to ask me about stuff, all right? If there's anything that needs to be talked about that last week, I'm going to be focusing on posting grades and things, and it's probably going to be too late. So please don't wait until the last minute to decide you're not happy with where your grade's going, all right? The breakdown is standard for, I think, most teachers on this campus, okay? And as you can see here, categories, assessments, final, class, homework, this is the breakdown. Half of your grade is going to be your tests. All right, 20% is going to be your final. So 70% right there is essentially assessments and final. The other 30% are going to be classwork and homework. Please recognize that if you don't do any homework and don't do any classwork, you're going to be having a lot of trouble when it gets to assessments time. So I've had a few students very confidently don't do any homework, and then they get to the tests, and then they end up getting very low grades on the tests. And so the combination of a low grade on a test and doing 0 homework and classwork is going to be very bad for your grade. So please be humble enough to recognize that I'm creating these assignments to help you prepare for those assessments, and please do your homework. All right, I'm just here to help you. Supplies. I want you to have a notebook just for this class. You're also required to be prepared for class. You're going to want pencils. You're going to want dry erase markers for whiteboards. And what whiteboards are, they're little dry erase boards. I'll typically have you in groups. Depending on any COVID restrictions, we might just be doing solo work on this stuff. And that's going to give you an opportunity to get things wrong. And sometimes we'll even do bell work that way. Your bell work might be in a group to discuss a problem, maybe define a few vocabulary words, and I come by, I make sure you've attempted to do those. If they look like you actually tried to do them, you'll just get 100% on that bell work. It's pretty straightforward, but you need those dry erase markers. I had a class last year where there was like 2 people in the whole class that had dry erase markers, and that's unacceptable. Okay, everyone needs dry erase markers. They're super cheap. I believe they even sell them at the dollar store. Please have dry erase markers. The notebook, when I say notebook, I want something where the pages don't come out. Pages especially don't fall out. Perforated pages, things like that, the pages fall out. So if possible, even a small composition book, something that's just for earth science. And the reason I say just for earth science is periodically I'll collect them. And if I collect them and I can't get them finished, graded before the end of the period, I have to hold on to them. And if I'm holding on to it and you need it for math or something else, that's going to be an issue. So make sure it's just for earth science, all right? I don't want to put you at a disadvantage in another class. I don't want another teacher getting angry at me because, you know, Johnny left his book with me because I required it, and then they needed it in their class and there was a problem. So please have a book, a notebook just for earth science that you're able to leave with me in case I collect your notebooks. Something fun about my class, I believe is fun, is I allow open notes on tests. What that means is I expect you to be taking notes in that notebook that I just talked about. And sometimes I'll have assignments that you're allowed to do in your notebooks. So if it's handwritten in those books, it's fair game on tests. But I also design my tests under the assumption that you're going to be using those notebooks. And so my tests might be a little bit more difficult. So anticipate that. My tests are difficult, but you want to take advantage of those notes. My tests will probably include vocabulary terms. I won't define those terms for you, but I'll probably define them in class, and I'll expect you to write them in your notebooks. And I'll give those assignments in class. Your bell work might be to define 5 vocabulary words in your notebooks. Okay, and that's not to torture you. That's intentional. I want you to know what those words mean, so when I test you on them, you're good to go. Your phone's not a calculator. You probably won't need calculators in my class, and if you do, I'll supply calculators, and I reserve the right to modify these rules. If there's something, an exceptional reason for using it, then I might make an exception for that day for that thing. Otherwise, phones are not allowed in my class. All right? Discipline, just obey the rules. The ALA handbook should be considered an addendum to this syllabus, so obey the rules in the student handbook. If you're disobeying the rules of the student handbook, then you'll receive consequences accordingly, okay? I have to have order in my classroom, and I need people to be able to learn from what I'm telling them. And if you're distracting my classroom, then you're taking away other people's opportunities to learn. I show movies and videos in my class relevant to science. Some of those include Crash Course. Those are my favorites. And my channel, I'm going to be trying to do some more of my own content on my channel. But I think a lot of the stuff I use is Crash Course Science. We have a few Bill Nye videos that we watch, and some of these other ones, maybe I'll take one video from some of these other channels. But yeah, it's mostly Crash Course, my channel, and a few others. PBS Science as well. All right, you're expected to read through this, sign it, have your parents sign it, and then turn it in. You can turn it in digitally, take a picture, stick it on the Google Classroom, or you can just bring in a physical copy. Whatever makes you happy. Either one is perfectly fine. Okay, I request that you don't do both. If you give me a digital copy and a physical copy, it'll probably be confusing because I'll worry that maybe I gave someone else points for turning it in. So just give me one of those. Try not to give me both. So pick one. Either do it online or in person. And I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions, definitely ask me. Email me. There's my email address. Talk to me in class. Whatever you'd like to do. Thanks for watching.